For those of you that don't know me, I'm Hiram's eldest daughter, Alexis. Thank you so much for coming here tonight. It really means a lot. I didn't want to read this, but I'm going to read it because I can't look at you right now. So as I anticipated composing the epilogue to my dad's life, I realized that was a feat too great for me to do in only a couple of days. How do you put such a multifaceted life into words? It just felt impossible, and honestly, I felt I just couldn't do it justice. In the last several days, I have been thinking so much about the life my dad lived and the people that he touched. You all came here tonight because he had some sort of impact on your lives. I think the most beautiful way to honor him is to hold those memories close to your heart. Think of him often, and let those memories make you smile before you shed a tear. Because as far as I'm concerned, life is a collection of moments and a sequence of experiences. And all of us know my dad's assortment is colorful. I look forward to connecting with many of you tonight and hearing some of your stories, because that's what tonight is all about. This is his legacy, all of you here. This is the testament to his life and what he created. As we come together tonight to celebrate my dad's life, there are a few things about my dad that I really want to share. These are qualities about my dad that bear repeating over and over again. The first is the type of example my dad set as a man. The type of husband he was, the kind of son he was, and of course the loving father that he was. The way my dad was with Karen is the way every woman wants a man to be with her. The way he always looked at her, deep into her soul, with such love and kindness. That one look would make her feel and know that she was the most beautiful woman in the world. I always loved how he would look at her and say in the cutest little voice, "Baby," with the cutest little smirk on his face, and he would even help her blow dry her hair. The way he took care of her, from bringing her coffee every single morning for 35 years, to how he took such an interest in her health. He would put her continuous glucose monitor on her, and when we were in the hospital last week, we had to YouTube how to do it because she didn't even know how. And he gave her medicine, like he just took care of her. He worried so much about her, but in a really beautiful way. There was no place else he wanted to be. He never needed a boys' night out, or he never needed alone time. It was Karen and Hiram, and that's exactly how he wanted it. When he was working on my house for 2 months, despite the horrific drive, which was at least 4.5 hours a day, and even after the house was totally acceptable to sleep in, he wouldn't sleep there. And one day I was like, "Dad, why won't you sleep here?" And he's like, "I just love sleeping next to my wife." And I understood. And I never asked him again. And it was so evident through the years, as I saw their relationship to continue to evolve, that home was next to Karen. And the bond my dad had with his parents was immeasurable. Of course, they were crazy about him. I need some water. So of course they were crazy about him. But the respect he showed for them was beyond compare. As they aged and became more dependent on care, without hesitation, he became their caretakers. My grandmother lived well into her 90s, and my grandfather until he was 102. My father made sure they remained in their home, slept in their own beds, and lived out their years with dignity and respect at all costs. It wasn't easy to visit every day, when most days he visited multiple times a day, but he always did it, and he never, ever complained. In fact, he never complained about anything, ever. When both of his parents succumbed to age, they were home with their hygiene and their attire intact. And this was just the way it was done. And the three of us girls would always say we were going to fight to take care of my dad that way. It set such an example to us to honor thy parents and care for people, especially those you love. And I'm sorry that we're not going to get that chance. The loving father part, I can speak to you on experience with this one. He showed me what it was to love. It takes a special man to be a father to 3 girls and surround yourself with so many strong, females. But to tell you the truth, he was most happy when all of us were around him. I remember at the baby shower for Gigi, somebody was like, oh my God, you poor thing. 3 girls, a granddaughter, now another granddaughter. And he was like, no, don't feel sorry for me. I got it made, man. I got it the best. These girls are all, it's the best thing ever. Don't you feel sorry for me? And I was cracking up. I was like, that's really so cute. And it was the truth. So our dad did everything for us. He was so responsible. It didn't matter where we were or what we needed, he was there. And like I was thinking, if Marvel was going to design like a super dad, they would most likely go and like they look at my dad and be like, okay, this is the guy we're going to marvel a super dad after. I mean, he was amazing. When I wanted to move from Reno to Miami, he didn't ask any questions. He flew there. We drove to Miami in like a day and a half. He was sleeping the whole way. It's actually a really funny story about it later. When I lived in New York and I decided I was done with New York, I just called him. I'm like, I'm done with New York. Okay, he hired movers, bought my ticket, I came back. And then when I was living in Miami, year after year, I was moving, and who was my moving company? Hiram. He never complained, he just always did it. It was just so easy. And over the years when people are like, oh, Alexis, you're so independent because I've never been married. I really wasn't that independent. Here's my little secret, guys. I had my dad. Okay, that's that page. So, the biggest turning point in my life was when my dad and I renovated my house. I was, I think, 41. And I was in a really bad relationship, and my dad recognized that, and I was too scared to leave because of my age, I was scared. And my dad made me feel like, I'm gonna carry you through this, and we're gonna do this, and no matter what, you're gonna come out on top. I mean, I can't tell you how scared I was. I didn't really have any money, but I felt like, okay, we're gonna do this together, and we did. And we built the most beautiful house together, and got to know each other on a level that, God, I look back now and I cherish those moments. I cherish them when they were happening. I didn't take them for granted. But now to be able to have that and to be able to have such vivid memories of it is a really special thing. I had never really felt as though I had a solid place to lay my head on before I had my house. And my dad helped me to create a safe place for me to heal. He instinctively knew that before we embarked on the project together. You see, my relationship with my dad was a bit complex. I had a hard time letting him in over the years. Many, many times pushing him away. And he kept coming back, just like he always did, and pushing and giving, because he knew I would break. And in building my house, he showed me what love is, and I finally felt it. And he proved it. My dad gave me my most prized possession, and that is my capacity to love. This was his greatest gift to me. As I reflect over the last several years, I feel I took the time we had together for granted, thinking we would have decades left to continue to grow our loving bond, that we would be able to create more memories together. And that is my only regret, is that I just didn't let him in sooner. Honestly, I didn't think the end was so near. I mean, whoever does. So I will tell you this, every single thing that I like about myself is because of him. When I am funny, it's him. When I am passionate, it's him. When I'm successful, it's him. When I'm a badass, it's him. When I am brave, it's because of him. And when I'm strong, it's because of him. I've been able to accomplish everything in my life because of him, because I always knew he had my back. So for those of us who counted on him for so much, we're going to have to figure things out on our own now. But you know what? He taught us well. So as I conclude, I want to share a bit of my perspective. Though we are hurting now, we really didn't lose anything, but rather gained confirmation on how strong love really is. Let life never be stagnant. Live a life that evolves. Know that people can change. Apologies and forgiveness are powerful. Live a life like Hiram. I didn't catch that. who lived with the body of an athlete, the mind of an old wise man, and the heart of a child. Hiram was a son, Remember, I said he was multifaceted. He was a son, he was a brother, he was a father, he was a friend, he was a husband, he was a lover, he was a student, he was an activist, he was an Eggs Benedict chef. He was an electrician, he was a plumber, he was an architect, he was a fisherman, he was a smartass, he was a painter, he was a builder, he was an AC guy, he was confident, he was supportive, he was romantic, he was a cyclist, he was a marathoner, he was a promise keeper, he was an optimist, he was funny, he was el animal, he was a liberal, he was messy, he was a fighter, he was a believer, he was strong, he was a caretaker, he was flat-footed, he was a motorcycle rider, he was a helping hand, he was an immigrant, he was a jack of all trades, he was fearless, he was kind, he was an animal lover, he was a gentleman, he was a PhD, he was a leader, he was an altruist, he was a pragmatist, he was resilient, he was a dreamer, he was a truck driver, he was a doer, he was an advocate, he was authentic, he was a defender, he was gentle, he was decent, he was generous, he was a competitor, he was big-hearted, he was a forgiver, he was a free thinker, he was magnanimous, he was my dad, he was a badass, he was a champion, and now he's our angel. Thank you.